Hello, dear parents. Anyone of you there? We are back again here for this month's question answer session. In fact, we had this vaccination session on 2nd of this month, that is the first Sunday. And subsequently, there are a lot of questions which were raised by the parents, and that is one of the reasons why we have come back. Just to give you a brief history, we've been doing this parenting sessions for the past almost about 7 to 8 years. But unfortunately, we never got into the real medicine part of it. Okay, the medical aspects we were not doing any sessions. Our sessions used to be more of character building and other aspects of parenting. Ever since we got in touch with Dr. Vanitha Pangal, who's got an experience of more than about 38 years, and she is one of the very popular child specialists in Bangalore. And we thought that we could have a session. A lot of parents used to ask us, okay, so do we have this kind of any session for vaccinations? Because there are a lot of myths around vaccinations. Even me as a parent, when we had our children when they were very small, we were always in two minds. Okay, so there is not much of clarity on why we were doing these vaccinations. Doctors are saying, and there are a lot of beliefs and misbeliefs. To get it clarified today, I would like to invite Mrs. Vanitha Pangal, who has come here today. Hello, Bhaskar, can you hear me? Oh, you are the first person to join. Good to hear you. Can you hear me? You can just, Can you hear? Can you just make a comment there in the comment section that if the volume is not clear, is it? Is it okay now? Can you type, Mr. Bhaskar, Mrs. Bhaskar? Is the volume really okay now? I think people have to put on earplugs. Unfortunately, today we are not having a mic. So though we are trying to speak a little louder, I would suggest that you people put on the earplugs so that the audio is clear. Okay? You can start this now. So we'll be starting the questions. I mean, we have already received many questions from the parents already. And welcome, doctor.
Thank you.
Okay. See, the vaccination is something which most of the parents, we've been having a lot of queries. See, a couple of queries what we have got since the last 20 days. Can getting so many vaccinations at once harm my baby? The next question, which can also be clubbed with the same one, is will my child's immune system be weaker by relying upon vaccination? So what do you have to say for that?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is an interesting question. Can getting so many vaccines at once harm my baby? What you see, you have to believe. Because we were giving vaccine for smallpox, we have eradicated smallpox from the country. Now we are not giving the vaccine since almost 40 years. So even polio has been eradicated by giving the vaccine. When we are giving simultaneously, the effect of it gets boosted. So certain vaccines, the effect becomes better when it is given in combination. So that will not affect or reduce the power of your immune system. So it is advisable to give as we recommend.
The immune system will not get weaker by relying upon the vaccination. So and another question on the same line is, 1 minute. Yeah. Hello, madam. It is mandatory to get vaccinated with all the vaccines. Does it reduce the baby resistance power? I had put 2 doses of some vaccine. As it is mandatory, is it mandatory going for the 3rd dose? This is a question asked by one of our parents who were taken very long back. I think the child must be around 2 years plus now.
Okay. Is it mandatory to give all vaccines? Some of the vaccines are meant for deadly diseases, which has been given by the government as well. Other vaccines are given to reduce the suffering in the child. For example, if your child by any chance has to get chickenpox, it has to be off from school for 14 days. Sometimes the rashes in the odd places like eye or ear can affect the child. So it is better to make the suffering less. We give the vaccine, and if the disease profile is also changing. Earlier it used to be diseases of 1 to 10 years. Now as some of them are taking vaccine, the disease is shifting to adolescent age as well. When they get in adolescent age, they are off from the college or school for 52 weeks, which affects their school performance. These are the reasons due to which it is necessary to give all the vaccines for children to reduce the suffering.
So what we understand with this is there are some cases wherein the 3 or 4 doses of vaccination is required, and actually the question was we have given already 2 doses. Is it mandated to give the 3rd dose?
Okay, if you ask me like that, when we give the first dose, the immunity builds up, and at the end of 1 month, like that, the immunity drops. When it drops, the child can get the disease. So we give the second dose. When we give the second dose, the immune system again it builds and a resistance builds, and the child is able to fight against the bacteria in case it enters. Then again it drops. So that is the time we have to give the 3rd dose. If you have not given the 3rd dose, when the bacterial challenge is given to the body, there might be some amount of suffering in the child. So it is absolutely essential to complete the course. If 3rd dose is required, you need to give it.
Hi parents, I want a little bit of interaction. If you people are getting satisfied with the answer, I want some comments there, so that we can take it to a better level. Okay, I think there are about 6-7 people who have already joined in. So please keep posting your comments and ask any questions if you have, because for a very long time we might not be having Dr. Lalita Pangal coming back again for this topic for at least for a couple of months. So I expect most of the parents to make use of this session as much as possible. Okay, and we have to go to the second next question, doctor.
Here, 1 minute.
Yeah.
That in case somebody has left off given 2 doses, and you are coming, you are asked to come for the 3rd dose after a month. If it is 4-5 months later too, we start from where we left. We don't start from the beginning, because body will remember that it has taken 2 doses. So continue where you left.
Is it applicable for all the vaccines?
Yes, most of the vaccines it is applicable.
And how many vaccinations are there actually? I mean, which requires about 3rd or 4th doses?
4 or 5 require 3rd or 4th dose.
Okay. Just this is getting wrong.
No.
Okay, so another question. Yeah.
Wait.
Is it true that the vaccination causes side effects?
Yeah, some of the vaccination, a little bit side effect can be there. It doesn't mean that all 100% immunity. In some cases, it gives around 95% immunity. There can be some breakthrough infection, mean to say some rashes can come in chicken pox, which can be milder, and but the benefit outweighs the risk involved in this. So that is why we continue to give. The risk is a small fraction. It is very negligible, so we can ignore it.
And the side effect is only temporary. I mean, it's not like we're going to have a side effect for a very long time.
No, yes.
Or maybe like fever. Or fever is a part of the vaccination.
Fever is part of it, and it is an accepted side effect. All vaccines are like producing disease in milder form. So the child is not going to be 100% all right. So little bit of fever and pain can be there, and it is because of the preservative in that the pain can be there. So, but that doesn't matter. In some injection, it is required to have little bit of pain and swelling around the injection site, and this side, of course, the side effect is lot less compared to the actual disease.
Okay, there's one very important question I feel. I think that gentleman is available. He is staying in Saudi Arabia, and he happened to enroll for a program recently. He's got a question. My daughter was born on 14th March 2017 in Saudi Arabia, and their vaccination card, there is nothing mentioned as a polio drops, and when we return to India, now they're talking about this polio vaccination. So should we go for it, or should we, I mean, how do you want us to go about this?
Okay. Injection polio gives better immunity.
No, the question was actually the polio drop, should we wait for it, or the next announcement that government makes an announcement, should we wait till that announcement comes, or should we go for the polio drops?
No, when it comes next announcement only you should give. The reason being your child is completely protected against polio. Polio injection is it gives better protection than drops. And currently what drops available, it protects against only 2 polio, that is for type 1 and type 3. Type 2 is not there. Type 2 is there in injection polio. So the protection injection polio gives is a better protection than oral polio drops. So you need not have to have oral polio. When it comes again next time, the idea there is protection of the community. It is not the individual child. In such case, you need to give polio drops when it comes, but you need not have to go for polio drops now.
And that's another question which they've asked. Why the injection polio is given? Why not we give the oral polio? Has it covered that?
Yeah, oral polio, as I said, it covers only between type 1 and type 3. Type 2 is not there. Type 2 we give in form of injection polio. So in Karnataka, government also gives 2 doses of injection polio. So you need to give that injection polio, which is the protection is better compared to oral polio.
Hi Sumita, we have another person who's taken it recently. Nowadays we have so many vaccines which were not there previously. Do you think it's unnecessary to have so many vaccinations?
Okay. Nowadays, actually our textbook covers more than 1000 diseases, but we have vaccine only for 20 diseases. Government gives for 9 to 10 diseases. In private we give another 10. That what government gives, the diseases that covers are deadly diseases. So, whereas in private what we give to reduce the suffering of the child as well we give. And if you don't want your child to fall sick with certain diseases which are preventable or lose precious school hours, then it is better you give. And when they are going to join in a hostel or they are going to join in dormant studies, if one child is suffering, all the children will get it. So that is the reason due to which these infectious diseases we can cover these children with this vaccine.
Has it answered your question, Sunita? Sunita Suraj, please make your comment there. And Mr. Bhaskar, has it been satisfactory, the answer what was given by the doctor? You have any other questions left on the same grounds? I think both husband and wife are available there. Please mark your comments there so that we can take it up later. Okay. And why injection polio? Yeah, that is covered, I think. Why not we stop at national immunization schedule?
This also I answered already. National immunization schedule covers around 10 diseases. They are deadly diseases. But whereas in private what we give is to reduce the suffering of the child, where the suffering is for 2-3 weeks and the child will miss school and school curriculum. For such diseases also we give vaccine in private. That is required if they have to travel to other countries or they have to be in dorm for continuing their studies. It is absolutely essential.
Okay. How long we need to preserve the immunization card?
Currently, if when they are joining in higher studies in foreign universities, they again ask for these vaccination details. So they need to preserve their card till then, maybe up to the age of 25 years. And in some of the states in United States, they are very particular about certain vaccines, and we need to have the details of that.
Any little bit of light you want to throw upon that?
Yeah, MMR vaccine is essential in most of the universities there, and chickenpox is also essential. And some universities ask for meningococcal vaccine, which normal course we don't give it in Bangalore, but if they are traveling we give.
And there is also a myth among most of the parents that this government vaccinations, how far we can trust. I mean, anything talking about the government, there is a little bit of hesitation amongst every parent, even if it comes to government schools or government hospitals. I mean, in fact, I was born in a government hospital. I think I was the last person to have been born in a government hospital. And after that, we never had an incident wherein, we always used to go for the private nursing home and things like that. But nowadays there is a myth, okay, how effectively it is, how authenticated is it for government vaccinations to be accepted?
Government vaccines, they give...
I think only polio. Polio is the main thing which they keep announcing that don't miss it, you have it on a regular basis.
Yeah, polio drops.
Yeah.
polio drops, but they also government also give DPT, which is manufactured by Serum Institute. That is a very good reputed institute and Indian company, and they give good vaccine. There is no problem in taking any of these vaccines, and no undue side effects because it is being manufactured in that company. We are not. It is not brought to light like so. But if there is any problem due to the vaccine, we can address it. There is a cell for which we can write, and the problem can be addressed. But usually, it doesn't produce any undue problem.
Face recognition. Okay. So the government vaccinations are equally effective. That is what we understand. And there is another myth what I also have, like every doctor the pricing is difference, the vaccinations.
Okay.
Is it just because of that hospital presence and their overheads and other things, or is there any difference in the vaccination itself, the brand and all that?
We usually put MRP, over that we put our consultation. So that is how we put the charge. So if the doctor consultation is high, you get it at slightly higher rate. But over the MRP, we put our charge. And each vaccine might be prepared by two companies. The way they take the antigen might be slightly different. So rate difference can be there, vaccine to vaccine, produced by different companies. Based on that, which one we choose, and over that when we put our charge, you find some difference in the rate. Otherwise, most of it are transparent, or else you have to choose a doctor who is little transparent and showing you the MRP and how he is putting his charge over that.
And in fact, we also had a question when our child, my daughter, when she was 3.5 years, she's got a couple of things like mum, she got it, and even the pneumonia attack she had, twice she had, in spite of the vaccinations what we gave. And subsequently, what I heard from the doctor was we changed the doctor. I mean, immediately that happens when my daughter happened to get the mumps. Then we changed the doctor. The other doctor was saying that maybe the preservation, the temperature or the equipments what they have, it also depends on that.
Yeah, we are supposed to store this vaccine in ILR fridge, which even if the
ILR, what is a ILR?
ILR is. I'll let you to know.
Yeah, I mean we can search for it.
And that is such fridges, even when the power goes off, the temperature is maintained for a longer time. For 24 hours there is cover. So it is better you choose a doctor who is having such ILR fridge, and she stores her vaccine in that fridge.
Somebody who's watching it, please type in the comment ILR fridge, so that when people are watching it later, they can refer to it. Okay, so we can try to Google it out. But at the moment, I want one of you to just type ILR fridge to be referred to when in future when you're going for a doctor, please make sure that you ask the doctor whether they have that facility or not. And I have another question which has come by Udipta Bora. Okay, my child has never got fever after giving any of the vaccination till date. Is it normal?
This is also normal. It's not necessary that child should have fever. It's based on how the body reaction takes place, and the antigen antibody reaction takes place, and how body is reacting to that. Based on that, child can have fever. Even if the child is not getting fever, it doesn't mean the antigen has not taken up. It would have taken up. So it is okay if the child is not having fever.
The usual side effects is a fever and a little bit of swelling and
fever, pain, and swelling in that area.
Okay. And one of the oldest questions, I would have asked this to many other doctors, even till now I am not very clear. What is a septic injection?
Okay, septic injection is usually, in olden days, we give injection against tetanus. And if there is a road injury, if the wound is contaminated with the mud, usually cow dungs and animal dungs, which will have the spores of this tetanus, when it enters the wound, it can grow there and multiply and produce tetanus. So earlier days they used to, for any sort of deep wound, they used to any sort of deep wounds they used to give tetanus vaccine. But currently we give in a scheduled way. We start around 1.5 months for that child. When we are giving triple antigen, in that itself we give tetanus. One aspect
One
is
minute,
tetanus.
only for my understanding, septic injection is something which is taken normally for everybody, right? I mean, even we go meet with an accident
Yeah.
or something happens, the first thing, it's almost like a first aid what they give.
Yeah.
And is it part of the vaccination system for the children?
Yeah, for children it is part of the vaccination system. They give around 1.5 months, 2.5 months, 3.5 months. After that, the same injection is given. It is known as triple antigen. One aspect of it is tetanus, around 1.5 years and 5 years. After that, we give it at 10 years, then every 10 years once. If there is any very deep injury with lot of contamination, you need to see a doctor. The doctor can take a call on that and give one more tetanus if it is required. Otherwise, like olden days, rusted instrument, there was an injury due to rusted instrument or rusted needle pricked me. For such reasons, there is no need to take septic injection.
Oh, okay. In fact, during our days, I'm talking about 20 years back, septic injection is something which is given whenever you have, first thing what you do is some septic injection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nowadays
it is not.
It is not.
Okay.
Too many tetanus injection is also not good. That is why we don't give in between. If I give at 5 years, then till 10 years, even if he sustains injuries, we don't give tetanus vaccine. So you need to ask the doctor who had given the vaccine whether you need a tetanus or not.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of questions now. What is the difference between painless and pain vaccinations?
Painful vaccines, it's usually meant for pertussis or whooping cough or naikemu. This whole cell vaccine, whole bacteria is used to prepare the vaccine. Then we call it whole cell vaccine, and that is slightly painful vaccine. A fraction of that, which that antigen can also stimulate the immune system in the body and produce same sort of defense mechanism, defense substance. Then we call it painless injection, which is also known as acellular pertussis vaccine. That means the whole cell is not there, a fraction of that is there, and that vaccine becomes painless. So, immunity produced by painful vaccine is supposed to be better, and it gets carried for a longer time. But the suffering is so much, quite a few of them opt for painless. So, in such case, we give one extra vaccine around 10 years, Tdap vaccine, which is similar.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mrs. Shashikala. She has already Googled it and she has put it. ILR refrigerator, ice-lined refrigerator. Okay, that's wonderful. And Mr. Bhaskar is asking one more question, the same. How long does the immunity last after giving vaccination? Does it depend on vaccine to
some
vaccine?
of the vaccines produce lifelong immunity. Some of them it wanes little bit. For example, if you take pertussis, earlier when we were giving whole cell vaccine, after 10 years after 5 years we never used to give pertussis fraction. But now
What is that? Pertussis?
Pertussis, whooping cough.
Okay.
Portion of that.
Okay.
So now we give around 10 years again a small dosage of pertussis fraction, so that the waned immunity we compensate, counter it by giving again that vaccine. And so the immunity can wane, but some of the vaccines give lifelong immunity. Like if you take measles vaccine, it gives lifelong.
Okay, there's one more question from Vedamala Prasanna. Usually we need to get the vaccination done as per the schedule. If we need to advance or delay the vaccination, is it okay?
Advance.
How many days we may advance or delay? This is one of the questions which most of the parents will be having, because we all miss it by a couple of days.
If you miss it, it doesn't matter. As I said, even if you miss it, we start where we left, not from the beginning. But if you are advancing, actually the immunity produced by the previous dose is still there in the body. At that time, if you give, the take-up might not be that good. So it is like not giving. So don't give it earlier than we have recommended. But 1 or 2 days we might give an margin, it's okay. But giving 1 or 2 days later is better than giving it earlier.
And one more question has come up. Do vaccines cause SADS? What is that? Multiple sclerosis or other problems?
The incidence is there are few, but it is very, very rare, 1 in 2 million or 3 million like that. Actually, we have not come up, frankly speaking, I have not come across that at all. They are there in the textbooks. Some of the neurological problems can be there, like, but we don't see it at all.
SIDS, what is it?
SID, systemic.
Okay.
Multiple
I didn't
sclerosis.
know. What is it? Systemic?
No, multiple sclerosis.
Okay, that's good. So when we should take the yellow fever vaccine? What is the yellow fever vaccine in first place, and when we should take it?
Yellow fever is one disease which is prevalent in Africa. People who are traveling to Africa need to have the vaccine, and it should be 20 days before traveling, because once you take the vaccine, body gets prepared to fight against the infection only after 20 days. It takes almost 20 days. So you should have taken 20 days before traveling to an endemic area. And Indian government needs that, because when you are coming back, if you have not taken the vaccine, they will put you under quarantine. And we don't want yellow fever to come to India, because the vector is there in plenty in India. So if somebody brings the disease, one more deadly disease gets into India. So Indian government doesn't want that. They have been doing successfully since 20 years. Only certain centers they give the vaccine. In Bangalore there is one near Atria Hotel, and you can get it in case you want to travel well in advance. One dose if you take, lifelong immunity it is.
Okay. And there's another question which has come up. When my child goes to the school, all the kids in the school are vaccinated. Is it necessary for my child also to get vaccinated, because she is in the protective atmosphere as it is?
He is in the protective atmosphere, probably in the school, but he is not in the outside world. So I don't know whom he will be coming across in a shopping mall or the place where other places that he is going. So as we are not sure of it, in the same way in the school other children also think like that and they don't tell, then we don't know how many have been vaccinated. So it is essential to have the vaccine. Even though everybody around you is vaccinated.
You were referring to about that 80-20 rule in the last session, I think. So can you just
and that is
throw
known
some
as
light upon
herd immunity. When we are giving polio drops, there are two types of vaccination. One is for the individual child, other one is for community. That when we give large scale pulse polio vaccine, our aim here is to cover at least 80% of the population in that community, the target group in that community. So when we are protecting almost 80%, you think first one person who is having infection, and there are 3% standing around him in a circle, and beyond that circle, second circle, there are 3 behind each person who is standing in the first circle. If all 3 are vaccinated, it will not go to the 9% who are standing beyond. If one person is not vaccinated in that first circle, people who are standing beyond him are exposed to that bacteria, so they can have the infection. So if we cover almost 80%, then the rest of them who have not covered, because 80% are vaccinated, they might not get the disease. Mean to say, the chances of exposure to actively infected person is less. So that is our aim. That is why for the previous question, when everybody is in the class immunized, even then the rest of the children they need, the one child, the mentioned child, that also needs, because it comes under herd immunity.
One more question from Nirmala Bandarkar Shanoy. Can we give rotavirus vaccine to 4-year-old?
No, rotavirus we have only up to 6 months we have to give. We don't start it after 6 months, and if we had started one dose around 4 months like that, by 8 months we have to finish the second or third dose or whatever it is. But we don't start after 6 months, and we don't complete it. We complete it before 8 months.
Why it is given, doctor?
Rotavirus is for a loose motion type of rotaviral infection produces loose motion in children, very severe loose motion. Within 24 hours they might pass more than 20 times, and it ends up in dehydration. To prevent that, we give rotaviral vaccine. It is a oral vaccine.
Okay. Any other questions, please? I think we might be finishing it in another 10-15 minutes. Any other questions? I expect parents to put it as soon as possible, and we can finish the session. Okay. And one more question what we have is
Meningococcal.
meningococcal vaccine and Japanese encephalitis. What is it?
Okay. Meningococcus is again diseases which affects the brain and the outer cover of the brain. We call it meninges, and which is this vaccine doesn't come under.
What I understand is meninges is something, a liquid wherein the brain is floating around. Right?
A layer. Meninges is a layer
Okay.
which covers the brain. So this meningococcal is a prevalent disease in eastern India and also in Delhi. So people who are traveling to Hajj or people who are traveling to certain states in America, it is mandatory to take the vaccine. But if they are in Bangalore, we don't see so much of meningococcal infection, so we don't give the vaccine routinely. Japanese encephalitis, again, it is given even by government in endemic areas. Endemic areas in some places in North Canara, some places in Andhra, again in eastern India like Assam. It is this encephalitis is an endemic disease. In such area, government gives on their own. In private also we have this vaccine. We give after 1 year single dose. Government give 2 doses at 9th month and 18th month.
Okay, that brings us to the end of all the questions whatever we've taken. I think most of the questions have been addressed. You want to have another 5-10 minutes to brief anything more which you feel that it's required for us.
Okay, I can give you one example here how not taking vaccine can be a matter of concern for parents. This is my brother's son who went to NID, and within 1 month he told that my next roommate is having chicken pox. So the next day itself my brother's son had fever, and everybody in the house had a doubt whether they need to go there, because if they would bring him to south, he was in his mother's place is Coimbatore, whereas he was studying in Ahmedabad, whether to bring him to Coimbatore till he recovers. Bringing him with chicken pox is also difficult, whether to bring him earlier or whether to keep him there and give the treatment. Luckily he didn't get because he was immunized. Then within a week again, 2 weeks later, he called me and asked that my other roommate is having jaundice. So again, quite a few of us are sick. Do you think we need to do something about it? Whether you want me to come back to Coimbatore right away so that I will not get the disease, or even if I am getting, I will not be traveling when it is in its peak. So for that too, he had taken the vaccine. By any chance he suffered, then he would have missed his school for college for 15 days for both the diseases, and he would have missed his semester and 6 months studies as well. So it is always better we give the vaccine to prevent the disease so that the children's suffering will be less. All those children who suffered also, they recovered. It's not a deadly disease, but they missed 1 semester. That is 6 months.
I would like to repeat the whole thing again. Last session, it was the most interesting part of the session. What is the origin of this entire vaccination concept?
Okay, this vaccination concept, it started in 18th century by Jenner, and he observed that ladies who were milking the cow were not getting smallpox. The reason being, when the cow had cowpox, they got the virus, and because of that, they did not get smallpox. So what he did, he took some liquid from the cowpox and he injected he created a cut in a boy's arm and injected that wound with this cowpox virus. Then he had one bleb there, and one rash rather, and which healed. After some time, he again put one more cut and same fluid he injected into that, and this time he did not develop. So he realized that if we give that smaller dose of that, we had immunity against chickenpox. against smallpox. The cowpox fluid was injected and he had immunity for smallpox. So that is how the smallpox vaccination came. So they removed the virus, they made the virus powerless and injected into the arm. We usually had it in the arm when we were small. Then every 5 years we used to have in different sites, either forearm or other arm, and it was compulsory at that time. At national level they did it, and by 2080 they eradicated the disease completely. Maybe 2078 they eradicated the disease completely. So this is how they achieved it.
Okay, I think one last question which we have, I think that will be the last question what I'll be taking today. What is the sickle cell anemia? Do we have such case in India?
Why you want sickle cell anemia?
He's from-
Sickle cell anemia is the defect of the hemoglobin. Okay, it is not connected to the vaccine, but anyway, it is the defect of the hemoglobin, and exposure to certain drugs, exposure to certain level of oxygen. Okay, if they are in high altitude and such of those places, suddenly the cell will sickle. Sickle means the shape of the cell which should be round and biconcave disc, which will become get the shape of a sickle. So then these cells will have a short lifespan. Otherwise, normal course a cell should have 120 days lifespan. This will have a shorter lifespan, and that produces anemia in children. Okay, certain drugs and certain condition can precipitate it. And
in India it is not...
it is there in certain bloods. It is the belt, it is there near Ooty in some places, and somewhere in North Canada. Some places it is there. I am not very sure which place. I know near Ooty somewhere it is there.
Okay, dear parents, that brings us to the end of this question answer session. It was a lovely questions what you have received, and thank you all for parents taking part actively in this particular session, and looking forward to meet you next month with another topic. Okay, so we'll be coming back to you live as well, okay, as soon as possible. The idea is make use of this sessions what we have. We want to expose you to all these experts who are available in this particular line. Normal incidents will not get expressed, will not be having our own doctors answering the way we have doctors attending to us through this session. And we'll come back to you next month with another topic and another live session as well. Okay, see you then. Bye, tada, take care, have a nice weekend.
See you. Thank you.
Yeah.